Well, for more, let's cross to Brussels and correspondent Dave Keating. Now, Dave, we all know NATO has nothing to do with the European Union, or does it?
Well, it's an opening salvo in Hungary's overall threat to veto EU legislation, and now the opening salvo is actually concerning NATO. That has been really surprising. It was already a surprise yesterday when the European Commission came out and said that it would withhold this 7.5 billion euros of cohesion funding to Hungary. That's 65% of Hungary's cohesion funding allowance. That's funds that are designed to bridge the gap between rich countries and poor countries, mainly targeted for the Eastern European 2004 entrance, and the money that Orban is accused of using to pay off his cronies and to keep himself in power. Now, Hungary has for a long time threatened to gum up EU legislation by vetoing everything it can veto if the Commission went after them. And that's why it was such a surprise that the Commission actually pulled the trigger on this yesterday, because for weeks, months really, the Commission has been looking like it was going to back off on this, even though it was asked to do this by the other, by EU member states, mostly Western EU member states, who did vote by majority to establish this conditionality mechanism that links EU funds to the rule of law and to safeguarding against corruption. So when the Commission came out with that yesterday, all eyes were on Budapest to see how they would react. This surprised people today, because why NATO? This is a big potential miscalculation for Budapest, because it could majorly complicate its relationship with those Visegrad 4 partners, Czechia, Slovakia, and Poland, that it happened to be meeting with again today, because this is the issue that's really splitting them, which is the issue of Hungary's stance toward Russia. The other byproduct of this could be that it changes the way things work here at the Council of the EU, the building I'm in right now, because this is a big problem with EU lawmaking, that there are some issues like taxation and foreign policy which require unanimity, which any country can veto. But most issues do not require that unanimity, yet the Council here will extend the courtesy to countries that they can veto by tradition, but not by law. And so this could move the Council to actually hold those majority votes for all of the issues it can, which is almost all legislation, and end this gentleman's agreement by which they say, no, we want everyone to sign up. That would be something that people have been calling for a long time here in the Council, which is often referred to here in Brussels as Europe's most dysfunctional institution. It is the upper chamber of the EU's legislature, made up of the 27 national governments. And what they do here in Brussels it's messy, let's say. The European Parliament wants to end this unanimity. There's members of the Commission that want to end this unanimity. And maybe this is what finally gets the push to not hand Viktor Orban this cudgel with which he can threaten his EU partners and stop the EU from, for instance, getting tough with Russia.
Yeah, although you mentioned that Visegrad group, it has obviously changed a lot. Today marks 9 months since Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And basically you're with or against Ukraine now if you're inside of the EU. Let's listen, for instance, Dave, to Viktor Orban's Polish counterpart as he entered those meetings.
Today at the meeting of the Visegrad Group, we will focus on security and energy issues. I will certainly talk to Prime Minister Viktor Orban about Hungary's consent to Finland and Sweden's accession to NATO as soon as possible.
And just a reminder, Dave, Hungary, along with Turkey, the only two nations that have yet to approve Sweden and Finland's NATO membership. When you listen to Mateusz Morawiecki speaking there, what lies ahead for Viktor Orban?
Yeah, this is why Hungary using this veto in the NATO context is so shocking, because this is the very issue that's causing the V4 to fall apart. Poland and Hungary, the central axis of the V4, have been tight allies for many, many years. But the issue of Russia's invasion has torn them apart, because Poland is fiercely anti-Russia and Viktor Orban's government in Hungary is very pro-Russia. And that is already causing a huge strain within the V4. And that Orban is doing this, playing politics with Finland and Sweden's accession to NATO, is going to infuriate Warsaw. And this could leave Viktor Orban with absolutely no friends at the EU table. And that hasn't been the case up till now. Poland and Hungary agree on a lot of issues. They are both hard right governments, both self-described illiberal democracies, both eroding the rule of law, interfering with the justice departments, the media. They have a lot in common. But what they don't have in common is their attitude toward Russia. And we're seeing that unfold at the V4. There was even talk that the Czech parliament was saying that Czechia shouldn't even participate in this V4 summit. At the end, the Czech prime minister did decide to participate. But the V4 is on the edge of collapse. And if that happens, Orban is left with no allies in the EU. And you could see a situation where that really spirals out of control for Budapest and gets them into a situation where they are asked to leave the EU. That is no longer inconceivable at this point, particularly if Orban has alienated himself from all his former allies.
So, Dave, just to be clear on this, you're saying that he's put himself in a precarious position. Let me just play very briefly here, devil's advocate. The point is, he can run the clock and run the clock when it comes to Finland and Sweden's NATO membership.
He can. That is in his purview, because that absolutely requires unanimity in NATO. But the longer he does that, the more he is going to drive a wedge between Budapest and Warsaw, and that may not be sustainable for him. Yes, he can veto issues here at the EU, but Hungary has had allies up until now. That's what's kept Hungary protected. First, from the center-right EPP, Angela Merkel's group. They've left that. They no longer have the EPP even tacitly supporting them, and their strong allies in Warsaw are now looking away from them. And if Orban's all alone, yes, he could drag this out forever, but to what political benefit for him or his Hungarian government? That's what's not clear.
Dave Keating reporting live from Brussels. Many thanks for that update. And let's take a look at the situation